What's good, African family? Welcome back to the African Wahala. I'm going to give you a quick update on the ECOWAS situation. If you like this type of content, click on the like button and subscribe. We discuss African issues affecting people of African descent all over the world. I'll be honest, 90% of the time we are discussing people on the continent. So, people outside the continent, do not be upset. We are currently trying to figure out the problems with the motherland, why we are at the position that we are, which ultimately contributes to the lack of respect that we face all over the world. And that is the bottom line of the African Wahala. So we have the Economic Community of West African States. In the news once again, it's decided to lift sanctions against Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Guinea. If we remember recently, those four countries went through military coups because the democratic systems weren't functioning properly as expected. We had cases of the spread of terrorism and the inability of the democratically elected government officials to figure out the solution to terrorism. Not only the terrorism, we also have economic situations where countries are having poor people in large percentage of the population. It's just crazy what the ECOWAS community represents, even though after its creation 49 years ago, and the ultimate purpose for creating ECOWAS was to foster economic and political growth. That has never been the case. We all know that the only beneficiaries of ECOWAS are the leaders of the Economic Community of West African States. I'm talking about the presidents and the guys that are the administrators, as well as their puppet masters that control them all the way from Europe. The main culprits are obviously France. We have countries like France that have a high influence on ECOWAS because the West African leaders are weak, point blank and period. The democratically elected leaders, so-called elected leaders in West Africa, are weak. They are stooges to France, England, United Kingdom, the United States, and any other Western power. That's all what they do. They are stooges. So we have a case where the French government continuously looting ECOWAS countries, especially the French-speaking countries in West Africa, for like 400 years, non-stop, right? And then eventually they started losing their powers. And then the military guys took over in those four countries. When they took over, it also coincided with when the largest power, the largest body of ECOWAS, which is Nigeria, had another sham presidential elections in which Tinubu became the president. Once Tinubu became the president, as usual, a guy that loves being a stooge, okay, he loves worshiping his leaders from especially France. And in all fairness, those guys have some compromise on Tinubu. They understand that Tinubu, this guy is a guy with a lot of dirt in his hands. I mean, I don't need to go into the full details. We all know that Tinubu is a dirt bag. That's what he is. He was once a governor, stole billions of money. Before he became a governor, before he became a politician, he unscrupulously sold drugs in the United States of America. This is all public knowledge, okay? And once Tinubu got into power and the ECOWAS and the French people found the perfect puppet that would be in control of the ECOWAS region, everybody was happy. Period. So France found the perfect puppet for themselves that would control ECOWAS. And keep in mind, it also coincided with the time that Niger Republic kicked France out and arrested their French puppet president, Bazoum. So when that happened and France started panicking about losing its influence in Africa, in West Africa, they decided to push Tinubu to go and invade Niger Republic. And Tinubu said, yes, I will invade Niger Republic for you. Obviously, that is extremely foolish of Tinubu, but what do you expect from someone that has had a life of crime, a drug dealer, a career manipulator of the economic system, a career looter, a billionaire that has never invented anything or solved any problem in the history of mankind, but he's a billionaire because he was able to take advantage of the corrupt Nigerian system. So France found the perfect puppet to do the ECOWAS job. But luckily, we had some good investigative journalists like David Hundeyin that decided to put his life on risk and expose what France was up to. So Hundeyin came out with this document from the Nigerian military. This was sometime in September 2023, and the military document exposed ECOWAS, led by Nigeria, to have stationed military troops close to Niamey at the border of between Nigeria and Niger Republic, close to Sokoto. So when that happened, I mean, that was supposed to be a covert mission that nobody was supposed to know anything about. ECOWAS went into a re-strategizing mode. Obviously, they went after the life of David Hundeyin, trying to arrest this guy. They finally exposed him for being a political asylum in Ghana, another West African country. To cut a long story short, thank you, David Hundeyin, for what you did. And thank you to all the investigative journalists out there that are exposing the criminal politicians that are puppets for the Western countries that don't give a damn about us, right? So once that took place, where they started panicking, then we found ourselves in a place where Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, just in January of 2024, they announced that they were stepping out of ECOWAS. And that was the smartest move for them. Like I said earlier in the beginning of the live stream, if an organization like ECOWAS, Economic Bloc, was created to foster economic and political strength amongst the members, and that hasn't happened for 49 years because the only beneficiaries of the economic and political strength are the politicians of each one of these countries, and they are puppet masters in Europe and America, then the organization is completely useless for the people. So a very, very smart move by Niger Republic, Burkina Faso, and Mali to announce that they were leaving ECOWAS. But you also need to keep in mind that at the beginning of the clash between these countries and the rest of ECOWAS, Nigeria, the largest member of ECOWAS, decided to implement a sanction that also included cutting off power supply to essential institutions in Niger Republic. You know what the irony is? Nigeria is a country that has never had power supply. Okay. So it's crazy to me that Nigeria has the ability to supply other countries with electricity. But also, you need to understand that it's not 100%. In each case, it might be a case where Niger Republic relied on 30% of its electricity consumption from the Nigerian supply and 70% from other sources, right? But bottom line is Nigeria cut off the electricity supply. It affected multiple hospitals in Niger Republic. We had citizens of Niger that did not have access to oxygen in their very sensitive health states. We had people with vital signs that ended up dying. People perished as a result of these sanctions. But at the same time, there is an economic collapse currently playing out in Nigeria. There is a food shortage playing out in Nigeria currently. And one of the countries that supplies Nigeria with a huge percentage of its food consumption is Niger Republic. But you know, the foolishness of Tinubu, the arrogance of Tinubu that made him follow what France told him to do without considering these dynamics that I just mentioned, made him jump the gun and decided to put those stupid sanctions on Niger Republic, Burkina Faso, and Mali. And just so you know, the trio countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, they declared a no-fly zone from ECOWAS members into their countries. That also happened. I mean, ECOWAS was completely going nuts in the last 6 months. This literally happened. But the final blow came. And I'm going to tell you guys what. The main reason why ECOWAS decided to reverse these sanctions, I'm going to summarize it into 3 bullet points. Point number 1, ECOWAS dropped the sanctions against Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali because of the hunger situation in Nigeria. That's the first reason, okay? Niger Republic being a country that supplies Nigeria heavily with consumption of foodstuffs, the pressure that Nigeria was going through, in which even the northern part of Nigeria, and let me just show you a quick map. So the northern part of Nigeria that shares its border with Niger Republic, the groups of people within the southern part of Niger and the northern part of Nigeria, they are ethnically, linguistically, culturally, traditionally very similar people. I'm talking about people that they've been mixed up for centuries, maybe millennia. Who knows? These guys are the same people. But this artificial border, just so you know, this border was drawn in Berlin, Germany, between the French and the British. The French and the British drew this artificial border between Niger and Nigeria for their own benefits, not for the benefits of the citizens of the so-called Nigeria or Niger. They did it for the benefit of the Europeans. So the northern part of Nigeria began putting pressure on Tinubu, telling him that, listen, we are hungry, bro. We are dying of hunger. And right now you're starving us. You've cut off supply from Niger Republic, and we are literally perishing of hunger. It even got so bad that, you know, in the northern part of Nigeria, they have a feudal system of existing in such a way that they listen to their so-called spiritual leaders, their traditional leaders. Those are the people that determine how the people live their lives. It's extremely weird to me. I would never adopt that kind of system, but that's what they practice in the northern part of Nigeria. So it got so bad, like I said, that one of their Muslim clerics even came out and angrily decided to threaten the wife of Tinubu. Not that I give a damn. I mean, do whatever you want with Tinubu and his wife. I don't give a damn personally. But that's how bitter these people were. So to me, this is a case where two groups of thieves, I'm talking about these fake clerics that call themselves Islamic clerics, teaching millions of people to practice a jihad on people that they consider as infidels. And that's exactly what they called Tinubu's wife. Listen to this guy. This is in Hausa language, by the way. You might not understand, but I'll translate.
Wannan sako ne zan isar zuwa ga al'ummar musulmai gabaki daya ko kuma al'ummar Najeriya gabaki daya. Game da wasu
Bottom line, listen, bottom line, we don't need to hear the garbage this guy is saying, okay? The bottom line what this guy said was that, listen, I apologize for threatening the wife of Tinubu. I apologize, okay? I was teaching you guys from the Quran, but it turns out that I wasn't even sure what verse of the Quran recommended that we killed the wife of the president of Nigeria because she is an infidel. That's pretty much what he said. And what this tells me, okay, is that the feudal system in the northern part of Nigeria that has led to the mass indoctrination of the people that makes it virtually impossible for the leaders, for the citizens to hold their political leaders accountable, because according to them, it is haram. It is haram for you to protest against your leaders. It is haram. That's what this criminal, what's it called? This crooked, unscrupulous Islamic clerics teach their people in massive numbers. We've heard of multiple cases of people getting stoned to death, people getting beheaded in public, people, treating themselves like we are in 1452 or we are in the Stone Age. That's how these people are in 2024. Stoning, how do you stone someone to death, bro? All thanks to their feudalism system where their so-called spiritual leaders, their traditional leaders, have the powers to indoctrinate millions of the people to cause chaos. So this guy comes out to apologize to the president's wife about, hey, I don't want to kill you no more. It's part of the indoctrination. It's part of the pressure that was put on Tinubu so that he would understand that people are upset with you, bro. You're not just going to go out there and fight Niger Republic. So you need to do something about this. And that is one of the main reasons why Tinubu led ECOWAS to withdraw the sanctions from Niger Republic, Mali, and Burkina Faso. The third reason, the first reason that I said was the hunger in Nigeria, where the disconnection between Niger had created a barricade between the borders, and food trucks were no longer crossing the border into Nigeria to supply the large market. That situation contributed to the hunger currently playing out in Nigeria, but also the threat and the pressure from the northern traditional and religious group pushed Tinubu to making sure that those sanctions were lifted. Yeah, those are the two main reasons. But what does this mean for the future of ECOWAS? The lifting of the sanctions. Number one, we need to understand that there is not going to be trust between ECOWAS countries and Niger Republic, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea. If these three countries displayed on the screen decide to rejoin ECOWAS, there wouldn't be trust between them and ECOWAS, or at least it's going to take some time for the trust to be rebuilt. So what does that mean? Number one, Niger Republic will be actively working to be self-sustainable as far as electricity supply is concerned, as far as what else? The financial. So listen, part of the sanctions was the no-flight zone, the suspension of financial transactions, and the frozen assets in the bank, in the ECOWAS bank, to be reversed. If Niger Republic is smart, and Burkina Faso and Mali, they should be working towards being self-sustainable and not reliant on the ECOWAS infrastructure for anything. Point blank and period. Second point, if Niger Republic, Burkina Faso, and Mali rejoin ECOWAS, they will become a voice, sort of like an opposition that wouldn't be sheep and puppets to Western governments. We also need to understand that these three countries currently are heavily in a relationship with Russia. Russia and the West are enemies. I mean, they can be friends when necessary, but as far as global political affairs are concerned, they are enemies. So if Nigeria, the ultimate puppet of the West, Ghana, another ultimate puppet, if those countries remain puppets of France, and Russia is having a high influence on Niger Republic, there will be a clash in ECOWAS. But it might end up being good for the people. I'm talking about the regular citizens of ECOWAS. It might turn out good for us because if there is a voice in ECOWAS that is consistently adhering towards being a puppet of the West, there will be another voice in the same ECOWAS that will be warning them that you guys need to stop this bullshit. Come back to your senses. Remember the main reason why ECOWAS came into existence in the first place, which is to foster economic growth in the region. And that's what's going to happen. Hey, let me say what's up to my people in the comment section. Just reason. Good to see you, Baba. It's time to see the official response from the other countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger. Yes, exactly. Like right now, it's all assumptions. ECOWAS has given its own response to this situation, to those three countries leaving ECOWAS. It has said, listen, we're going to lift these sanctions. Please come back. We are doing this for the economic stability and the unity of the region. But those countries haven't responded yet. We're going to wait up until next week to hear what happens. And hopefully something good comes out of it. At the end of the day, all what I want is for the people, the regular citizens of the ECOWAS region, to have an improvement in their lifestyles. That's it. One thing I know for sure is that the current method of running ECOWAS is not beneficial for the citizens. It is only beneficial for the crooked politicians that are puppets of the West and their puppet masters. That's it. Good evening, Ayomiku Daniju. Good evening, brother. Yes. So with that being said, we are still waiting to see what happens next week amongst those countries. But it's a very, very interesting time that we are in, where ECOWAS thought that it was something to be reckoned with. It obeyed its master, France, and put up sanctions against those countries. And then those countries showed them that you guys are nothing. We're just going to leave you, point blank and period. And once we leave you, you're on your own. So one of the resolutions that it came up with during the summit, the extraordinary summit, was that we have to find a way to about Guinea. My bad. Guinea is one of the ECOWAS states that is also being led by a military junta, Mamadi Doumbouya. That's the guy's name. And they recently dissolved the government and shut down the borders for some reason. I'm talking about Guinea Conakry. We haven't really heard much from that country. But one of the resolutions made in the meeting was that Guinea would also, that the political sanctions will be partially lifted off Guinea as well. But there are still some sanctions directed at individuals in those countries, not necessarily the entire country, but I'm talking about like travel bans, things of that nature from some of the guys that perpetrated the military coup. It's still useless at the end of the day because ECOWAS is a dog that barks for nothing. ECOWAS is absolutely nothing. It's a joke, okay? I don't know why people have respect for this organization. I understand that we have been indoctrinated right from the beginning to, oh, you have to love your organization. Even though you are poor, your organization hasn't added anything to your life. If anything, it is a parasite to your life. But you've been indoctrinated to love it regardless. But that's not me. I'm not going to do that. ECOWAS also talked about encouraging the three countries, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, to consider Article 91 from their from their treaty. They had a treaty sometime in 1993. It's called the revised ECOWAS Treaty of 1993. And basically, ECOWAS was telling the three countries that decided to leave that you guys need to follow the rules of the article that we signed. And the rule says that any member state wishing to withdraw from the community shall give to the executive secretary 1 year's notice in writing, who shall inform member states thereof. At the expiration of this period, if such notice is not withdrawn, such a state shall cease to be a member of the community. I mean, yes, it makes some sense that you guys have a treaty in the first place that everybody is supposed to obey. But if you guys are not even obeying the fundamental reason why ECOWAS was created, which is to foster economic growth, political stability, and growth in the West African region, you guys have never obeyed it. And I'm talking about the leadership of ECOWAS. They have never obeyed the mandate of ECOWAS itself. And for that reason, if Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger decided to leave ECOWAS without following your Article 91 of the 1993 treaty, then it is, we call it Ojoro Cancel Ojoro. You know, that is equity right there. You guys have decided to keep West African citizens poverty stricken while you are billionaires. These guys are billionaires. I'm talking about the ECOWAS members. They are chiefs and all that stuff. These people are extremely wealthy. You guys are wealthy. Your citizens are extremely poor. You drive around in luxurious cars. Your children are citizens of countries in Europe, North America. You literally spend most of your time in Europe. Tinubu is consistently going to France for his medical visits. He has his private doctor that lives in France, not in Nigeria. But you want to be a president in Nigeria. How the hell does that even happen? And the same thing can be said about some of these ECOWAS leaders. So if you guys, your actions has consistently shown nothing but greed, wickedness, unlawfulness, recklessness. These guys are reckless as hell, bro. These guys would literally spend $50 million on cars, on luxurious cars for themselves and their cabinet members, while citizens in their countries have no homes, are dying of hunger. Citizens in their countries, the children are schooling in classrooms that have no roofs, schooling under trees. You find a teacher with a blackboard under a tree with children surrounding the teacher in 2024. But you have the effrontery to have billions of dollars in your bank accounts without doing anything, and you think the people are not going to be upset? Come on, that's a joke, bro. That's an absolute joke. That's why nobody takes you seriously, ECOWAS. So if you ECOWAS leaders are completely useless, then you don't expect any one of your members to follow your fake treaty, because you guys don't even follow the treaty in the first place. You don't follow the treaty. Why should anybody else follow your treaty? And then finally, I'm going to wrap up this conversation quickly. I don't want this to exceed 30 minutes. I'm already on minute 29. And thank you guys for joining. I appreciate you. Click on the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Finally, as far as security is concerned, let's keep it real here. Let's be very, very honest with ourselves. If you have a society without security, okay, a society where terrorists, murderers are running rampant, kidnapping and killing people for decades, and nothing is done about it, slowly that would have a detrimental impact on the economy. The economy is not going to grow. Let's keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. If anybody in the comment section will put his money in a society where your business, your investment could crumble at any time because of security issues, will you be encouraged to invest money in such a society? The answer to that is no. Thank you, Just Reason, my brother. Thank you so much, my brother. He says I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm just trying, man. Man, I don't like doing long live streams, bro. I swear, but sometimes you just have to finish what you plan to present, and that's what this is about. I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you. So, as far as the security situation is concerned in the West African region, we all need to understand that it has gotten so bad where the entire region is pretty much under a threat. Ever since the war broke out in Libya, and we had millions of weapons and guns and terrorists moving down south. And a lot of us, especially we from this part of the West African region, we believe that these terrorists, their final target is the southern part of Nigeria. We might be wrong, but I mean, let's just use logic and common sense. People are always looking for resources. The southern part of the West African region, I'm talking about the south of Benin, Togo, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Liberia. The southern region is the rainforest. Okay, the norther you go, the farther north that you go, the closer you get to the Sahara Desert. It becomes a desert. So the population is naturally more concentrated in the southern part of the West African region, the Gulf of Guinea. And for that reason, we believe that these terrorists are all moving down south. Now we have the terrorists, they've already invaded Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Nigeria for the longest time. So these four countries of Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Nigeria are the main countries that have been going through hard times as far as terrorism is concerned. And if you have your neighbors and you guys are enemies, you guys are enemies. Imagine you're enemies with your neighbor. You go to sleep at night, but you can't sleep with your two eyes closed because you're not sure if your neighbor is coming to shoot you up before the next day, right? Which is extremely unwise. And that's what Tinubu was pushing to get. At the same time, your neighbor has terrorists. And you guys already signed agreements in the past where your collaboration as a region will push away the terrorists. Let me show you guys a quick 10-second snippet of what these terrorists in Burkina Faso were saying in French. Shut up, coward. Now, these coward terrorists, by the way, these are Fulani terrorists in Burkina Faso. They are sending a threat to Ibrahim Traore about, listen, man, we're coming for you, man. You've been bombarding us for so long, man. We're coming for you. You know, these guys are cowards. They think they are smart. The most ridiculous thing that this guy said, this clown, he said, Ibrahim Traore, you fighting against us is stopping what God has destined us to accomplish. This is madness, bro. And you know, we African people, extremely religious. Anything God, we lose common sense. We are very, very religious people, very spiritual people. So anytime anybody mentions God, he has a great chance of manipulating you from an emotional standpoint. So this clown, this terrorist is saying that we're coming for you, Ibrahim Traore, for stopping what God has ordained for your country. And ECOWAS also said that, listen, if you guys, if we do not come together and try to end the fight for terrorism, we're all going to be consumed. So I'm going to give them kudos for at least realizing, coming back to their common sense and knowing that if you start fighting against your direct neighbor and both you guys are under terror attacks, then you're both going to be decimated separately. But guess what? Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, they are less likely going to be decimated because they have a great alliance with amongst themselves. Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. But that's it. Thank you for joining me tonight on the African Wahala. I have gone past my time and I appreciate you guys for joining me. Don't forget to click on the like button, subscribe to the channel. We will be back with more updates from the West African region and other regions in Africa. I mean, the East African Community Bloc made up of six countries: Kenya, Tanzania, South Sudan, Burundi. They've been they are going through what they're going through as well. I mean, it's not as bad as it is in West Africa, apart from the situation in Eastern Congo and Rwanda and Uganda. But it is what it is. That's going to be another conversation for another day. Thank you for joining me one more time. Peace.